You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Today on our second host call of the weekend, we're going to be answering your questions that have come in from the past 2 weeks or so. So like I said yesterday, we're probably about answering these questions from about 3 weeks ago if you emailed in. And we've got some great ones today. I do hope that you tuned in yesterday as well, since we answered everything from meat and it causing inflammation or not. We talked about how to dissolve kidney stones. We talked about certain types of probiotics, some soil-based ones that actually come from dirt. We talked about IVF. We talked about regulating blood sugar, but not necessarily through a keto-based diet. And we talked about frequent urination. Many, many different topics covered yesterday. Do check out yesterday's show as well. So let's get started with today's. Now, the first question is coming in from Chelsea. It's a two-parter. I'm going to answer both, and I'll try to do them pretty succinctly. So the first part is this. Not sure if this is for the house call page, but I have a few questions. I have vertical ridges on my fingernails that I can't seem to get rid of. I have hashimotos, Lyme, and chronic low blood cells, as well as chronic low blood pressure. I'm on AIP and have been working with a functional medicine doctor for a year, but can't seem to figure out the vertical nail ridges. So let's answer the first part first. So in every form of medicine, vertical ridges, now of course, except conventional medicine, means some type of malabsorption, okay? So you'll get some practitioners that say it's a lack of protein being able to be broken down. Some will say that it's like intestinal permeability, but really what they're trying to say is this, is that your nails show you the internal health of your body being able to create new protein, new tissue. And so you have to look at your nails that way. It took me a long time to get like good nails. And before I had vertical ridges, which basically means if you run your hands from side to side, you'll feel those vertical ridges going up and down. I used to have those. I used to have horizontal ridges, and that's a little bit different. I'll talk about nail issues in a future show, just like I've talked about the tongue diagnosis before. I will get to the nails very, very soon. I'll talk about that. But that's what it means. So malabsorption, some type of not being able to break down minerals very well, protein very well. Again, they're all needed, and that could absolutely go right along with your low blood pressure. So keep working with your functional medicine MD, but if you still have chronic low BP, you're going to really want to work on your body's, well, for sure, its body's ability to absorb and utilize sodium, potassium, calcium, and magnesium, your main electrolytes. And the other thing is you want to make sure that your adrenal glands are working well, your HPA axis, and that hormone aldosterone that you've heard me talk about before, since it is what regulates blood pressure. So you should be able to fix that within literally 6 to 12 weeks maximum. So let's hope that works out for you. Now, the second one is I have a bad case of floaters in my eyes, especially my left eye. Many times, part of my vision is obstructed. Because of it, I've been to the eye doctor, and I'm 20/20, and I'm told the floaters are normal. My functional medicine doctor does not know what that could be causing them. Your thoughts on these annoying yet telling conditions? Thank you. Love your podcast and Instagram. Thank you, Chelsea. So here's the issue. Floaters are, I see it all the time, like literally all the time, correlated with stress and correlated with, so not just stress, right? So we're all stressed, but some people, they tend to break down calcium more than others. And when calcium floats around in your bloodstream or your eyes, you get these things called floaters. So take your omega-3s as an anti-inflammatory. You can take the pure omega that we offer, or you can take the ortho omega, and you can just go to the website and you can obviously see that on my store. And that's going to be a good start. But then you want to find a way to reduce stress. Typically, we start with magnesium, that we can use other great products like HPA Adapt or Adrenal Response Complete Care. Other ones like that are really, really great. And then obviously your body's modulation with that stress. It seems like that your adrenals are part of this issue. And of course, your adrenals affecting your hashimotos, because when you have this type of stress, and you've obviously had it for a long time because you have the low BP, if you had alarm-based stage stress and adrenal alarm stage stress, you would have high BP, but you don't. You have low BP, which means that this has been going on for quite a while. So you really need to build up from the ground up. And obviously, I would work with a very qualified functional medicine doctor or functional medicine practitioner. So keep working on that. You have additional questions, you can contact our office, and one of our health coaches obviously would be able to work with you as well. Okay, Maria's up next. Hi, I had a question regarding weight gain. I am 20 and I've always been active throughout my teenage years, but the last year I've changed my diet, such as cutting out processed foods. I've also been exercising much more intensely, more weights, and as a result, I dropped around 10 pounds. This put me at a weight now of around 150 pounds, and I'm 5'6". I'm concerned about losing more weight, but also enjoy eating healthy and working out regularly. What are your thoughts on how to gain healthy weight in the form of muscle without compromising my health? I have struggled with counting calories in the past and sometime currently in my mindset on weight loss in general. Thanks for your help. Okay. So I like answering this question because it's not always about weight loss. It's sometimes about weight gain. And there are many, many people out there, not as many people who want to gain weight as lose weight, but sure are plenty of them out there. So here's the thing, and this is the really great thing about people who need to gain weight. It's not about protein. It's not about fat. It's about more carbohydrates. And here's why. You are someone who burns fuel at a much faster rate and uses sugar as your predominant source of fuel. So I know this is hard to grasp. I'll do a whole show on this in the future. But the Vata or the ectomorph body type, they use glucose. And that's why, again, all of this keto and low carb for everyone mentality is really harmful. And I mean, on Instagram, people are like, how could you possibly recommend berries or fruit or a smoothie for breakfast? You're not supposed to eat carbs till later in the day. Some people say just at night. Some people only say at lunch. Some people say between meals. That's the thing. Like, there is no one for all. And if you're making one recommendation, you simply need to do a lot more research to understand that, yes, we're all humans, but our bio-individuality is quite different. So when you're trying to gain weight, you want to look towards more carbohydrates. Now, of course, I'm not telling you to eat sugar, nor should you, but you can certainly eat more fruit like berries, and you could also eat things like pineapple and kiwis and green apples, like whatever works well for your body. That's a nice way. You can also do more yams, sweet potatoes, yucca. Some people do fine with oats and rice. You could decide on whether those grains are right for you or not. Again, when you're losing weight and you're not even trying to, it's a sign that there's stress on the body. And so the best way to cut stress, we know this. Remember, when you don't eat carbs, your cortisol goes up for a lot of people, not for everyone, but for a lot of people. So by adding in carbs, it cuts stress, it cuts cortisol. It allows your body, for those people who use glucose as the primary fuel, to be able to get the fuel that their body wants. Not only that, you're going to be happier, you're going to be less irritable, less moody, all of those things. Now, again, some people feel better when they cut out those carbs. They get less moody, they get less irritable. So for you, though, those are the people who are more prone to gaining weight. For you, since you're more prone to losing weight, add more of those good carbs back in. And again, you can just add in a handful at each meal, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That should be enough. Okay, Rebecca is up next. Hi, Dr. Cabral. Love your podcast. I'm the person who saves your episodes till I get home so I can write down notes. I so wish I could have all the knowledge you have so I could help people the way you do. I'm a RN and have a deeper passion for helping people get better. However, it saddens me that conventional medicine is void of this life-giving info. What is the difference between the hair tissue mineral analysis and the organic acid test? And what test of the two, or any other test, would you recommend I take annually? I'm quickly moving into a 100% whole foods plant-based diet, no meat or dairy, and trying to focus on a lot of raw fruits and veggies. I want a test that will show if I lack something so I can steer clear of illness due to deficiencies. Thanks a ton. Also, could you recommend any books, seminars to educate myself on naturopathy, human physiology? Okay, so a lot of questions all in that one. And, here's the thing. I don't have the market on, what I'm doing here in terms of natural health and combining certain forms of medicine. And so, Rebecca, you can do the same exact thing as me. It will just take time. That's it. But we have time. So what I would like you to do is you just start, like when you're asking me for books, honestly, it's like, how do you pick out one book? Because what people want is they want me to give them the book. Like if I give them the book that's going to somehow teach them everything that they need to know about their health, their wellness, health coaching, like all of those things. And I can't do that because it's impossible. Even if you read a 1,000-page book, which would be like 3 times the average, it's still not going to give you everything because you can't get all that knowledge in 1,000 pages. So all you have to do is start reading about books on inflammation, on books on Ayurveda, on books on leaky gut, on intestinal permeability, books on nutritional supplements, books on toxicology. Just start reading. That's it. And keep reading and reading and reading and reading. And that's how you accumulate all this knowledge. And then ideally try to do mentorships under other doctors or practitioners, certifications, and you'll keep getting knowledge. But as you'll see, I think next question is that, remember, you can't become too dogmatic about anything. So stay tuned for this next question. Okay. So let's see what your question was. Your question was, what's the difference between a hair tissue mineral analysis and organic acid test? Well, these two are my favorite tests. The reason is this, very, very simply, very straightforward. An organic acid test looks at your levels of candida, your levels of bacterial overgrowth. It's a urine-based test. You just do a simple urine sample in the morning, send it to the lab. It comes in a prepaid envelope by FedEx to send right in. And it will give you your level. So it will tell you if there's any of this candida overgrowth, bacterial overgrowth, Clostridia-based bacteria overgrowth. It will tell you about your neurotransmitter metabolites, serotonin, dopamine, and norepinephrine. It doesn't tell you those specifically, but it tells you their waste markers because an organic acids test looks at waste. It shows you your body's ability to utilize glucose, shows you your body's ability to utilize fat. It shows you ammonia-based buildup. It shows you all of your vitamins, your B vitamins basically, and your vitamin C. How are you doing on those? Are you deficient to those or not? It shows you your detoxification, glutathione. It's an amazing, amazing test. We use it for every single person in my practice and online for those looking to see if they have candida or bacterial-based overgrowth issues and if they might have some type of intestinal permeability. A phenomenal test. It's called a subclinical lab test. It doesn't diagnose disease. It looks at it from a deeper underlying level. Now, our hair tissue mineral analysis is almost the opposite. That's why I like doing the two of these together. Hair tissue mineral analysis looks at all of the minerals in your body, but it also looks at your autonomic nervous system. That means your levels of stress, and it shows that with calcium and magnesium. And the opposite of that is it shows sodium and potassium to see how your body's doing in keeping up with those levels of stress. In addition to all of these minerals in your body, it is also looking at heavy metals. It's looking at mercury, aluminum. It's looking at lead. It's looking at arsenic. So it's a fantastic test. It also shows you whether you're a slow, fast, or mixed oxidizer, basically how quickly you break down food. So based on those two descriptions, if you're not going to run both, you could just pick the one that you feel is more appropriate for you. To be honest, for people who are using my multivitamin or all-in-one shake, and once we clean up their candida and bacterial overgrowth issues, we don't retest the organic acid test. What we do is do the hair tissue mineral analysis every year as well as their blood work every year. Sometimes we'll do their omega-3 test, their inflammation test. Not enough people know about that. It's a phenomenal test. We'll run that one as well. And then anything else we feel is appropriate. If they obviously have an issue, if something comes about, then we'll run the specific test. But those are my recommendations. Hopefully that helps. Okay, next question is from Stephanie. Stephanie's asking, let me first start by saying how much regard I have for you and your incredible amount of knowledge. My husband and I have turned on several friends and family members to your podcast and to your detox, and you do not have to respond to this on your podcast. Well, Stephanie, I'm going to anyway. I just wanted to reach out to you. So the other day I was listening to your podcast and someone asked a question about Dr. T. Colin Campbell's The China Study. So this is basically a book I reviewed on a Friday review. I read the book and also took Dr. Campbell's 6-week course through the Center of Nutrition. While I understand that he may have based his book on a lifetime's worth of work, I was surprised to hear you give such little credence to cancer rates in Japan being related to their diets. If you've read the China study, then you must know about the migrant studies. If you take a person from the United States and send them to Japan, feed them the traditional Japanese diet, their rates of disease go down to that of the Japanese native. For women in Japan, and just goes on to talk about rates, all these different things, to dismiss differences as a matter of genetics surprised me. There are hundreds of migrant studies that show that disease is strongly related to what you eat, your culture, and your environment. So, Stephanie, I wanted to respond back because if I came off in any way showing that I don't support the research done in the China study, I, want to essentially apologize for that because that's not the truth at all. But what I tried to point out was this, is that It is obviously a biased book to one I mainly agree with. And yes, there are other factors that go into this as well. So keep in mind, I've also reviewed the Blue Zone diet before. And the Blue Zone diet, you'll see that people get the same quality of benefit using a Mediterranean-based diet, Asian-based diets, South American-based. So there's a lot of other benefits as well. But what do they all have in common? They all have in common they're plant-based diets. Never once in 428 episodes, I think is what we're on today, of the Cabral concept, have I ever wavered and said that someone should not be on a predominantly plant-based diet. I myself am on an 80% plant-based diet. 20% then comes from whatever else, some proteins and fats. And it's not 20% of my diet, 80% of the bulk of my diet, meaning like 80% of my plate looks like vegetables or fruit or that type of stuff. So obviously, Dr. Campbell and myself are in complete alignment, and we totally agree with that. Keep in mind, this study was based on casein. Okay, that's the predominant form, 80% of the protein in dairy. So you do have to keep in mind that when you're doing a controlled study, it's a little different than being out in the environment. And also is that we're talking about dairy mainly in this study, predominantly, as being one of the larger issues. Now, Dr. Campbell studied meat and many other things as part of his research, which I do respect. The Cleveland Clinic shows that if you go on a plant-based diet, or at least predominantly plant-based diets, 70% of all cardiovascular-based blockages can be cleared up. That's an amazing statistic. So if I came off in any way not promoting a predominantly vegan, a predominantly vegetarian, a predominantly plant-based diet, that wasn't my intent. But my job is to bring you the truth. And you sound like someone who is just very much enveloped in Dr. Campbell's work right now. And I've been where you are before. But you've been through his course, you did a 6-week course, and that's kind of been your tunnel vision study. Keep in mind, there are other truths out there. Dr. Campbell doesn't hold all of the truths, just like I don't hold all of the truths, nor do I claim to. What I try to do is I try to share with you the best of everything, the best of low carb, the best of high carb, the best of plant-based, the best of using good fats in your diet. Like all of those things is what I'm going to bring you. So while I didn't not promote the China study or put it down in any way, what I'm trying to say is that there is no all for one, and there's plenty of other studies of people doing very well on multiple diets. And so we do have to take that into consideration, and I think that's worth noting. I know that there wasn't a specific question in regards to this, but I just wanted to add that back in there. I do appreciate you tuning in and also recommending the show to others. And just keep in mind, my only goal is to provide you with the truth and also show you both sides, yes, to the studies and to the story. And not a lot of people always like that because they get locked into one mode of thinking. And I just refuse to do that. I just keep my mind open, and I'm going to present you lots of different topics. And the truth is, you're not going to like everything I have to say. You might agree with it though a year or two from now when you've read additional research and additional work, or you might not. Either way, it's okay because you don't have to agree with everything I say. All you have to do is keep an open mind, think about how it might work with your current study. And if it works, great. If it doesn't, well, think about it a little bit more. And if it still doesn't serve you, then just push it aside. That's okay as well. All right, Ella is up next. Hi, any advice for my teething 1-year-old? Her cheeks get so red and her ears. It's horrible to watch, and I don't want to keep giving her painkillers, as I imagine it's not great for babies or toddlers. Thanks for the show. Okay, Ella, one thing that works really great is chamomile tea, or using, obviously cold, chamomile tea soaked washcloths, and then a lot of people freeze them. This worked really well for us. A lot of kids, they like to kind of chew on, obviously, natural, organic, non-bleached, all that stuff. Washcloths, really, really nice, those cold things against their gums. The chamomile is naturally soothing. We also use teething tablets for my girls when they were young, homeopathic tablets. However, right now, there's a recall on one of the more popular brands. I'm not going to disparage them, so I don't want to name them right now. But what I'd like to say is we use also, and would recommend if you can find a chamomile-based homeopathic tablet as well, because the recall was on a particular thing called belladonna inside the homeopathic tablets. Now, at the same time, it's kind of strange because homeopathic-based tablets usually don't have any of the strength of the ingredient in the first place. In homeopathy, what they do is they dilute, and what's left is essentially the essence, the vibration, the energy of that particular thing. But I'd feel very comfortable to you recommending a homeopathic-based chamomile and then soaking the chamomile on washcloths or, cold paper towels, anything like that for your child to chew on. Okay, Alice is up next. Hi, I have foul smelling gas, wind, and bloating more or less all day. I eat a healthy, natural diet, exercise well, and don't eat any foods that have shown up on the IgG food sensitivity test. So what could this be? Quite embarrassing problem. I take your top 3 recommended supplements as well as B-complex, zinc, lipoic acid, and omega-3. Many thanks in advance. Keep up the good work. Okay, Alice, this is very straightforward. You're not working with me specifically, but in my opinion, this is like 100% either candida overgrowth or SIBO overgrowth or both. And most people have both. And so this is what happens. When you eat those healthy carbs like the Brussels sprouts or broccoli or cauliflower or whatever it might be, or even healthy fruits too, like mango, and the fructose from those things enter into your intestines, it is like feeding day for candida and bacteria. And what happens is they ferment those specific sugars, and the sugars cause gas. And that gas causes the bloating and the flatulence and the burping and everything else that goes along with it. So you have 2 options. One, you can see the data for yourself and run an organic acids test. Amazing test. You get that, and you also get a 30-minute health coaching call with my health coach at my wellness center. So that's a Skype call. I highly recommend that. It is, you can just go to, again, StephenCabral.com/store. So you get all of that shipped right to your home. Then you send to the lab. Very simple. It's just a little urine sample one morning. Or you could just begin the candida and bacterial overgrowth protocol to eliminate the candida and bacterial overgrowth over a course of 12 weeks. Works amazingly well. It's our most popular protocol, and you could do that as well. So the zinc, the B-complex, the lipoic acid, the omega-3, you can continue to take those. Those are all fantastic supplements in addition to the daily nutritional support shake, the daily fruit and vegetable blend, and the probiotic. However, you'll be stopping the probiotic once you begin the candida and bacterial overgrowth protocol. Alice, hopefully that answers your question. Really great questions this weekend. Always do enjoy answering them. And thank you to you for tuning into another Cabral Concept. Can't wait to chat with you tomorrow on our Motivation and Mindset Monday. Did you know that the body really only becomes sick or imbalanced in only 2 ways? Over time, you become deficient in vital nutrients, and you also accumulate toxins internally and from the environment. As those nutrients diminish and you increase your total toxic load, your body then begins to show the first signs of dis-ease. It's actually quite predictable, and the good news is that if we know how you began to fill up that proverbial rain barrel, we also know how to empty it to begin the healing process. I was fortunate enough to learn this ancient healing process from my mentor after suffering from debilitating diseases for close to a decade. It was only when I began to implement these techniques did I finally overcome my illnesses and go on to live a life of energy and vitality that I now enjoy. I'd like to share with you now what I discovered after traveling all over the world and how to combine the best of ancient healing wisdom with state-of-the-art science. Allow me to teach you exactly how I've been able to help over 250,000 people to empty their rain barrel and begin to transform their body and lives into what they've always hoped they could be. To get your copy of the international bestseller, The Rain Barrel Effect, simply go to StephenCabral.com/rain barrel.